Hey folks, I hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for checking out this video. So unfortunately not a normal type video today due to I'm actually packing and setting off for a wedding very soon over this coming weekend. But it did give me a fantastic opportunity to post the recording of our latest, the Audiobook Club Zoom meetup, which we were discussing Quantum, an audiobook produced by Pro Audio Voices, and we were very lucky to have the author of Quantum and also a few of the voice actors, the narrators in there, and we were able to ask them questions and learn a little bit behind the scenes about the book, and then just chat about how much we enjoyed it and all that kind of thing. If you are interested in joining us on a future meetup of the Audiobook Club, it is via Zoom. I'm hoping to live stream it also to an audience where we can answer questions and that sort of thing. Please do get in touch because I can give you all of the details, and it's a really fun show, and we just have a great time over there, and there's some really lovely people in it as well. So yes, please enjoy this video, see what it's about, and as I say, if you want to join us in a future episode, it's completely free. You are absolutely more than welcome to. So let me know, reach out to me either in the comments or through all of the accounts, the social media accounts down below, and I will pass over the Zoom details. So yes, please enjoy this episode, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in resumed episodes next week. What we were chatting about last time was we got to know each other. There was a few of us joined last month, and we had a really nice chat to Dean, who was very, very helpful in sharing some of his wisdom on writing Quantum. And we thought it would be a great idea to have an entire episode dedicated to Quantum, where we can chat to Dean a little bit more about the writing of it, and then his process. And also it's such a fantastic thing to be able to delve into more of the production style as well. Now I know Malcolm has been messaging me all throughout the week with his questions, and I know he has quite a few, and I know we were chatting, me and Malcolm were chatting just a little bit ago, and I just wondered if I could kick off this evening, or evening for me, if I could kick off this this session by opening up to Dean and just a little bit talking about right at the start, because the level of detail, the technical detail with everything was just quite astounding. And as you know, as a wannabe writer myself, sort of made me quite anxious that I need some serious catch-up game going on. So I wanted to know about your process of sort of coming into this with the planning and the research, and how long that actually took you. And then also, did you research as you went along, or had everything all ready before you started the piece? Is that, Malcolm, that was your question, wasn't it? I just ripped that straight off you, Malcolm.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. So
yeah, no,
that was one of the things I was talking to you about earlier. Yes, so I was curious about the detail in it is absolutely amazing. I mean, it really makes the book as well. So yeah, Dean, did you? Well, first of all, you must have done a massive amount of research. Either that, or you are a spy. That's what I can say. You perhaps you are a spy for the CIA.
Okay. First of all, hi everybody. I'm Mike. I am seeing now. I'm sorry, I am on my phone because I am outside. But I've seen that there is Miss Miriam Cruzado with us. Cynthia.
Yes. Hi. I am here.
Cynthia,
I'm just stopping for a little bit, but I'm so glad to be here.
Cynthia is one of the characters in the book, and she played very well, actually, in the audiobook. The part of this journalist, Latino journalist, that she get she tries to get the things right, even if in some way after getting the thing right, there is the CIA that is coming in, and basically. They shut everything down and everything else. Hi, Malcolm. It's always a pleasure to see you, and thank you for the question. First of all, it really depends on your writing flow. If you do the research during the writing or before. For me, it's a lot easier to do it before, and it takes a lot of time. Usually, in order to get all the information, the right information, if I have an idea, it takes anything in between 4 months to 1 year. In the case of quantum, in particular case of quantum, it took me 1 year because I have a background that is classical studies. So my background was not on physics, was not on mathematics, and was not at all on quantum mechanics, which is a very weird, science. It's very interesting, and is the science of tomorrow, because in fact there are a lot of things, there are a lot of applications to the quantum mechanics that are already that we are using. I'm talking about laser, for example. I'm talking about some of the chips that are coming out now for the new phones or new computers. So, but it's a really weird science. So I had to read basically in order to write something that was plausible on a scientific side. I had to read a lot of people that in some way are not, they wrote fantastic books, but they are not books for everyone. What I'm saying is that they are books, non-fiction books that obviously they are aimed to the scientific world. I'm talking about Brian Greene, it's a brilliant physic. I'm talking about Mikio Kaku. I'm talking about 3 or 4 other, authors and that are formed as astrophysics or physics, or, theoretical physics. So, and to digest this amount of information was the first part of the first difficult part of the whole process. The other part was to translate those concepts in a language that was understandable for the majority of people that they are, I think, like me. If I write a formula for quantum mechanics, I believe that probably there is the 1% of people in the world that is able to read it. So I had to translate all this concept in a way that was understandable for the public, for the readers. And I think that this is the most important part, and it's the most difficult part, because you have to bring to your readers the feeling of the field in which you are, the feeling that you are exploring, but in a way that doesn't bore them. And this is the most difficult part, because it's very easy, especially with scientific in the scientific field, getting boring. If I start to do if I do a treaty on what is happening to the microcosmos in, for example, it is applied to atoms or things like this in the jargon that usually the scientists they use, in 10 minutes everybody gets bored. So this was the first thing. And the second thing is that research, in my opinion, is something that in any case is useful for any writer in order to get more knowledge on in the course of your writing career. So if the things that I study for quantum, they and because I wrote quantum after this research, they stay with me. I mean, the macro concept, they are still here, and now I'm able to read this kind of book in a easier way that was at the beginning. So basically, this is the bottom line, of the research. Research is important because it gives you not only information but the knowledge, and you can in some way enter in the mind of people that is doing such a research. You can understand how they move and where they want to go. So this is important for your own life. I mean, beside the fact of being writing something or not.
I find that really fascinating, the idea of keeping things and storing them from project to project, or it's just as you go through life and just storing the thing. That actually makes me want to ask Kevin, through working in audiobooks and approaching different roles and different subject materials, and then just as we were just asking Dean there, when the heavy technical source material gets out there, have you any, is there a different way to approach a certain text? And then also, does anything stay with you through project to project that makes approaching a difficult a piece, maybe something really technical? Does that affect the way that you come to a project?
The main thing for me is just to make sure I'm pronouncing the words right. Is it disembarkal rectifier or disembarkal rectifier? So that's long as I can sound like I know what I'm talking about, then yeah, something stay with me. I'll learn a few things, but if it's too hairy, that's when you were talking about the quantum physics. I remember reading Michael Crichton Timeline, and he talks a lot about the quantum physics and that. And then at the end, he says, although a lot of the things in this aren't quite, wouldn't really happen that way. It's like, I wouldn't know, but as long as it sounds good, and as a narrator, as long as I can make it sound good and believable, then that's my job, and then I can just go back to being stupid.
How do you so there's lots of CIA and Mossad and all those really gritty characters and real interesting voices there. How do you approach creating that for the audiobook? Is there any references that you take, or is there any
yeah, and Becky, she likes to throw, or I guess it was Dean who threw the curve, because you had a Israeli Mossad agent. So I'm looking up online, I'm thinking, okay, I think I know a little bit of that, and I'm reading, so I'm trying to get this accent. And one of the things I read is that in Israeli, they don't say H's. So they would go to the hospital, but they have a hard H, like, and so I remember there's one part in the book where Dean wrote where there was a Mossad agent who was supposed to be pretending to be somebody from the southern US. So you'll start with this accent, and then I would think, okay, in the US, we usually exaggerate, so he would exaggerate and talk like this. And could you tell me if there's anybody in room 219? And then when the person at the desk answers, he says, well, thank you for your help. And so I thought he would probably overcompensate for not, saying H's, but he would do that Israeli, that guttural, help. And so those are the things that you have to keep in mind. But yeah, there's research on first of all, the actual, the way they would say things. And then you get into the mind of, what would they be thinking and, and trying to do as the Israeli guys trying to fake a Southern US accent. So
yeah, those layered accents are particularly interesting and fun to play with. I remember at that moment in the recording session when that came up.
But anyway, Kevin did a fantastic job. It was not easy. It was absolutely not easy. I know that oh God, in this it's not easy, because it seems, when you hear the audiobook, you are following the story, and if the voices are like in Quantum, voices they give you in your mind an idea of the character is really drawn in your mind, and this really linked to the voice. So you can in the case of Kevin, for example, when when he speaks, and you can imagine what is all about. You know, is this man tall, short, is well built? Even if there is a little description, and I always did a little description on purpose in my book of the character. Why? I give you some guidelines, and after it's up to your imagination. And a great help is when you have, like we had a fantastic bunch of performers, really, you know, very good, you know, performance professional, and everything has been really done. I mean, this is, Becky did a great work with the directing, which is not easy, by the way. So yeah, it's complex. The whole thing is really complex. It's not something that you can do in, you know, like 15 days. You know, it's not going in this way. And sometimes I am taken back by the idea that there are a lot of sites, a lot of podcasts that they say, you know, you can record your own audiobook and blah blah blah. I don't think that is the good way to do it. You know, I mean, if you are a writer, you have to write. That's it. You don't have to perform. You don't have to be an actor. You are a writer. You are the one that is writing actually what the other are supposed to say. After is and it's not even up to me to choose the voices. This is the reason why we put together, and Becky knows this, we put together a focus group, because I am interested in knowing who the public has to decide what is the best voice, you know, for this kind of role. So it's not up to me at all. It's something I have an idea, you know, that probably it doesn't appeal for the 90% of people, you know, because I am writing the book, and probably 90% of the reader, they say, no, this is not the right voice for me, you know. So it's and the job that you did, guys, Kevin and all the others, you know, has been astonishing. I was really pleased, really pleased.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you brought up an interesting point too, that I've found that when you're doing the voices, if I'm just doing a voice, I'm just going to do this type of accent or this rough Garrett. If it's just a voice, it's not very good. And right, I have to picture somebody in my mind, and so a lot of times I may picture an actor, or you know, maybe Edward G. Robinson. See, yeah, that's right, you dirty rat. Or what, you know, but I'll have that picture, and as long as I can picture that and I am that person, the voice works. Otherwise, it starts to slip, and I get back into my good old Southern Texas, you know, accent.
When you're developing, Kevin, the accent, especially the you know, specifically the hybrids between them, I can imagine that taking quite a lot of concentration and sitting down and really working out, as you said, like the sort of main traits of each accent and trying to blend them and things. How many hours are you spending around in your daily life with that accent instead of your own?
I'll tell you honestly, I've been doing it since I was a kid. And are you in England? Is that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, because I started out when I was a kid in the TV show The Monkees. You may be too young to remember The Monkees, but Davy Jones, he had that Manchester.
I remember them.
And so I would go around, and talking like this because I wanted to be Davy Jones, daydream believer, you know, and so drive my mother nuts. And so, and anybody I'd see on TV, you know, I would start, you know, imitating them. And so I've just been doing it since I was a kid. But I still have to work on, if we get one different. One of the first ones I did was a book. It was a Scottish character, and I watched all these movies with I thought, well, they were authentic Scottish people, and I did it. And the very first review that came in from Audible UK was titled "Worst Scottish Accent Ever." And so, you win some, you lose some, you know.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, even as Brits, Malcolm and Jess can vouch for this, Scottish is so difficult, isn't it, to get as an accent? It's because they can't make up their minds of what they sound like either. You know, 15 minutes away from each other, they all sound so different.
Well, that in one of the groups, I put, what had happened in that review, and I had several people from Scotland saying, we've gotten the same comments on our narration, and we are from Scotland. And then there was a big debate on how to pronounce Edinburgh. I said it even depends on what part of the town you're from. You're from North Edinburgh or you're from South Edinburgh.
Yeah, and I think one of the craziest things about it is like once you get sort of past Inverness and it's like the real like North Highlands and stuff, it just becomes inaudible. It's just mumbled. So you can't narrate that. You have to like dumb it down, but then it's not realistic. So you get into a lot of trouble.
Well, I'm glad we didn't have Scottish in there then.
Yeah. I always end up sounding like that little leprechaun on the Lucky Charms commercials. Irish, Scottish, whatever.
So you mentioned casting this, and I can imagine with so many voices and so many auditions coming through and so many different characters and things. Was it immediately obvious? Did you set out in mind that you wanted you have all these voices to fill? If you have a narrator who can tackle quite a few, was that something that happened after casting that narrator? Like, did a narrator come on board and you think, do you know what, this person might be really great for a few voices, or was it sort of pre-thought out of, we need someone to bundle?
Yeah, we were looking for specific accents as well as great actors. So that was a challenge, and it was really great having the focus group because it gave us a lot of support in the determining which roles any particular actor was going to play. What we found was that we started off thinking we were going to have about 14 actors, and we ended up with 32. Because
it's my fault.
I mean, it makes for an even better end result. But additional challenges along the way, both in terms of the scheduling, as well as the mixing of the many different studios to make sure that we're all sounding like we're in the same place. But that cast did grow. Yeah, I think it was. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, we were thinking 14 at first, and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And after because the whole pre-production phase is amazing also, because you have usually you have the psychopathic writer one side, and you have the sane people on the other side, so the psychopathic is always coming up with something like what about putting that, and the sane people, they say, it's because at the beginning I have to tell you something. I shop around. My background has been for 18 years. I've been a TV producer, so I shop around to get the right studio to do this. And I have to say that, Becky, you remember that we click almost immediately. Me and you, when we had the first Zoom call, we were like on the same page, So I was like, okay, this is the right studio because they give me the confidence that they're gonna do a fantastic job. And I was not wrong on this. But I can understand from the other side, because to organize all this, the problem is that the writer said, okay, here, what is obviously they're going to ask you what is the budget. You go down with the budget. And after that, the big work is their side, because the only thing that I did, I put together a focus group. I have my media guys that are working almost weekly basis on focus group. So for them was pretty easy to put together 15 people of different nationalities, but with all able to understand and speak English. So basically we had a quite wide range of possible listener, to the audiobook. And this is the quality of focus group is also important. But from that point on was all Becky problem, you know, and it was, and we had a fantastic communication. We could communicate. We were communicating almost on daily basis. And when you enter in a project like this, you have, in my opinion, you have to work in this way. There is no other way to do it, no other way, because otherwise you come up with something, you know, that is so maybe, you know, is something that is not what you want at the end, you know. And the final result, beside myself, was I think that is getting more and more appreciated by people that all the people that are buying the book right now. So, you know, I'm absolutely happy. And like we say in Italy, the winning team never change. So the future audiobook that will be pretty soon will be done through Pro Audio Voice for sure, because we know them now. We move in a way that is compatible for both of us. You know?
Yeah.
Being always the psychopathic this side. You know?
I mean, from an outside perspective on the project, I think that the thing that baffles me as well is just the logistics of handling so many different studios, you know, so many different talent, all coming in and trying to get it to one. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? 'Cause, Game of Thrones was made famous because there was like 4 crews all around the world filming, and that's nothing compared to this. You think about how many different pieces coming together. And Becky, I was just wondering how you sort of like found that. I mean, it's quite a, you know, the most audiobooks are sort of either single or dual, and then obviously to go to a full cast, how does that differ in you know, preparation, stamina, and result? How does that sort of how does that differ when, you know, coming to that approach?
Yeah. So there, it seems like with full cast productions that there are 2 basic models. One is where you gather all of the cast in one place and record together. And that's, you know, kind of like, that's the very expensive version. And, you know, yeah, I mean, optimal in many ways, but not always, you're not always going to get the people that you want also when you have to bring them together into a single place. And we had a cast literally around the world. So our bigger challenge from the logistics point of view was making sure we could find a time when we could schedule somebody who was on the Pacific coast of the United States and, you know, like in Greece, you know, and be able to record sessions where we have, you know, people sprinkled around the world. And I think one of the other challenges, especially for those for whom English is not their first language, is that some of the English, just speaking the English words. I'm thinking about our top Mossad leader, where it would, you know, just for him to formulate those sounds in his mouth was sometimes really challenging. And, you know, we just spent the time in the sessions to help him, you know, get to where he could do that. And he wasn't the only one, you know, but the beauty is like everyone on the call is like, we're with you, you know, you can do this. There's so much support, you know, for the team overall. And then, so that was a big piece for us, and then sometimes, you know, just making sure like when like finding the right voices, you know, making sure that the accents were accurate, you know, was challenging in that pre-production, in that casting process. And we had a few, at least that auditioned for those with the Italian accents. Well, we, you know, those weren't going to make it through until they were like truly authentic, right? Absolutely. So, you know, there was a lot of reaching out beyond our usual network for finding that cast. And then one of the other things that I found kind of interesting was, you know, when the process that we're using when we're doing the full-on directed sessions is to use Zoom to connect us, not for the recording, the actual recorded files, because we're each using our own, you know, audio system. But, you know, Zoom has its own little glitches. So, you know, that just dealing with those, and also trying to really recognize when something that sounded maybe a little distorted was just a Zoom issue versus it was actually distorted, you know, and not wanting to like interrupt the flow of a scene that's going really well because maybe Zoom did a little funny thing. So a lot of interesting things, but such a great process. I just really enjoyed working with the cast. Wonderful. And with Dean, of course, and his team, just so great.
I think it's fantastic. Kevin, if I could just pass over to you with the same topic, staying with the topic of the casting process, and then also working with, you know, within a full cast. So first of all, how is it working with the full cast compared to, you know, voicing and narration standalone? And then second of all, with during the casting process, I know a lot of our viewers who will be watching this at a later date. I know a fair few of them, as audiobooks start to, you know, really take off into the mainstream as a medium, the job of an audiobook narrator becomes one that people start to take a real interest in pursuing. And I know that one of the main things that people struggle with is the casting process, and you're sort of going for those auditions and putting their best selves there. So my question is, have you any advice to audiobook narrations or audiobook narrators during that casting process, and how to put that best self there and how to really make it their own?
You know, it's funny you should mention that. I actually have a video on YouTube. If you look up Kevin Clayton, it's audiobook narration tips for beginners. And I think last I checked, it had like 130,000 views or something crazy. And I tell people to, you know, contact me. But as far, I'm not sure how I got in touch with Becky. I mean, Becky contacted me, but I don't know how you found out about me. Maybe.
I don't know. It's, you know, I've got, it's not just me. I got a whole team. So
maybe post office wall, you know, wanted, I don't know, but, the main thing. Yeah, me too. Yeah, because I was, as far as kind of what you're talking about, as far as working with cast, Becky makes it good because she does, you know, give you those little bits of guidance. And instead of saying, "You idiot, that wasn't the way to do it," she'll say, you know, think about, you know, as I was mentioning the actors, who say, "I picture this guy more like that guy in that movie," and that really, you know, clicks with me. But as far as people looking into it, you know, I got into it through acx.com, which is Audible's, you know, clearinghouse, I guess, and you can, you know, do royalty share books there, so they don't pay you anything. They're probably a lot of not very good books, but at least you can get that experience, because the main thing they don't realize is there's a lot more to it than you think. And in fact, you know, Dean was mentioning how the writers write and the narrators narrate. I've actually gotten jobs from writers who were watching my video thinking they wanted to do their own book. And then after watching the video, they said, you know, maybe I'll just hire this guy to do it. Because there's, you know, there's the talking into the microphone part, but then there's also you've got to meet the Audible specs, you know, -3 dB, you know, peak, and -18 to 25 average RMS. And I don't even know what that rude monkey scat or something. I don't even know what that stands for, but my stuff's in there. And then there's also, I pay a lot for training from, you know, there's all that to make sure that I don't sound terrible like I used to. I mean, when I started out, you know, coming from radio, you know, everything sounded like this. He walked to the refrigerator, he opened the door, he picked out the mayonnaise, you know, and so, because on the radio, everything is so important and so big. And, you know, I got some good training from Pat Fraley and Scott Brick, and they're like, you know, settle down, just tell the story. And so that'd be the main, I guess, starting out, I'd say get some training from, you know, look online, find a coach that really clicks with you. And then, maybe do one of these books on ACX and see if it's really what you want to do. You may find out that, I really just hate sitting in a chair and reading for hours on end. Of course, mine, helps. As I said, I got my dog next to me, so that helps. But that'd be my advice.
I think there's the test, isn't there? That's on another. I think it's Sean Allen Pratt's test.
Yes.
Where you sit in a corner or in a closet or in a bathroom, and just read for 2 hours a day for 2 weeks or something. I don't know anyone who would ever want to do it after doing that. To be honest.
Yeah, and Sean Allen, he knows what he's talking about. To me, though, I would say just go and try to actually do a book. One of those royalty shares. So at least when you're done, you've actually got something. To me, that'd be the equivalent of saying, well, to see if you want to play, in America, football, our football, run up and down a field several times, just running into people, and do that for 4 hours. And it's not the same as actually being in the game. And so, that's why I would say try to actually do a book, and then because you also then see all that technical part, and if that's something that you really have an aptitude for, or if you go, no, I think I'd rather just listen.
Malcolm, I know you you're one of the OGs of audiobook listening, and have been listening to audiobooks for decades in the recorders and the tapes. And I just wondered if you'd noticed, if you'd noticed the rise in audiobooks popularity, and secondly about how productions have changed as well compared to the narrations of 2000, how they've changed to the ones of today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously I started in the 1800s because that's what you just made me sound.
Yeah.
But no, you are right actually that I used to do a lot of driving with my job, and going back to sort of mid-90s, I quickly found that you could go to the library and get books for the deaf, for the blind, which basically they were on cassette recorder. And obviously cars in them days had cassette recorders and not CDs. And so basically I went, and there was only a very small section. So literally you might have a massive library, and then there would be maybe 2 or 3 shelves of audiobooks. So you've got very limits of what you could actually listen to. And even amongst those, some of them were just old radio plays. And being literally on the road for quite a number of hours, I would take 3 or 4, probably a week or certainly a fortnight, and listen to them. Then sort of moving forward into sort of when we got into the 2000s and moving along, the not only did the volume of books become available, but you were finding that more modern books, because obviously a lot of the books were just old books that had been read. But now you are getting a bigger volume of them, but also more modern, and things also like autobiographies, which were never there before. It was always storybooks. So they've really certainly increased in the number. But as you say on production, I think they've definitely, in the early days, you got literally somebody sat there and read a book. Now they, once upon a time, it was a grey muck day and people were milling around the marketplace and you got a book. Now you're getting a performance. And I really noticed that from the sort of 90s when I started, and then I had a little bit of a break when I didn't do so much driving and did more traveling by plane. But then when I got back into sort of a bit more driving, I got back into the books and noticed that suddenly I was listening to performances. So even though it was single narration, you were getting, this guy walked into the street, he turned to his friend, and then he said, well, and it's sort of, you could differentiate between the characters, even though it was a single narration. But I know it sounds crazy now, and you probably start going, oh, that's natural. It is, but it wasn't, 20, 30 years ago. It was definitely somebody reading you a book, like your mum and dad or something, when they used to put you to bed. It was almost the same as that. So yeah, things have really changed in performance. I'm not going to say in the quality. I know you just touched on it yourself, Kevin, with the quality that Audible and ACX and all those people use, but I couldn't say I noticed a great difference. Maybe because I was listening on cassette, and even on CD. Everybody says CD was perfect, but no, CD still jump if they're handled badly, and so I can't say the quality was better, but definitely the performances got better.
Yeah, I think it's things.
So that was a long way, Johnny. Yeah.
I think obviously as things sort of grow in the marketplace, and then as I think we've all got better resources to listen to audiobooks now. We can get it on your phone and you can get it on everything. It sort of makes it that more accessible, I think, and I think that is definitely one of the places to go. It is one of the reasons why it is taken off so very much. And then of course, as it takes off, as the demand gets bigger, you'll have the professionals and the performers there, and the content stepping up the game each time.
Also, is it the audience? Sorry, I was going to say, is it the audience that's changed? Because again, when going back, they were labelled on the actual library as books for the for the blind. Sorry, getting that wrong. Books for the blind. Whereas that's what that you're sort of a sighted person was. It's almost like a fraud going and using their books. Whereas now it's nothing to, obviously partially sighted people, etc., are going to get a benefit from this, and it's the only way they can probably read books. However, probably that side of it is now the lesser important. It's more about people listening to them on the road, commuting, whereas we never thought of that before.
Jess, when in schools and everything, have you noticed any of the rise of audiobooks used for comprehension purposes?
Absolutely. So I think you're right, Malcolm. I think the marketing has changed. I haven't seen it really done through education as the marketing for audiobooks now is for people with visual impairments. However, it is still really used, and they put me out of a job because at the end of the day I don't have to read them a story half the time now. I can just pop on the TV and off they go, and one of you guys take my place, so it gives my throat a rest. But no, it is a really, really big thing, and I think just reading along, I know we talked about this last time, so I don't want to repeat it, but I'm a pet peeve of mine is listening to an audiobook and reading along the same book, and we do that a lot in schools, and children love it, and it's a really good stimulant and it keeps them focused. But I can't keep up. I honestly can't, because I'm so involved in this performance that we've been talking about. I really struggle, and I switch off and I forget that I'm actually reading a book. But for the educational side of it, it's really good because they can put the comprehensions of the words and they can have this context behind them. And especially when you are looking at something quite in depth, so doing, your book and things, that would really help people digest the information that they're listening to, having the words and then the audio behind them. But yeah, I don't think my mind can do two things at once. It's quite exciting, but yeah, who wants to do that?
I struggle as well. Dean, was it always on the cards to get an audiobook made, an audiobook version of Quantum? Was that always on the cards? Was that something that you wanted to do right from the get-go?
Yes. I tell you why. Since I started, as I told you before, being for a long time a TV producer, the audio visual for me is very important. And by the way, during the pandemic, not only because of the pandemic, but we had a rise of from the last year, from 2019 to 2020, up to 28% in audiobook sales. And in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. In my opinion, this is going to be the ebook of the future, because the ebook, in some way, the ebook is okay if it's non-fiction. The ebook is something that you can go back and forth, and if it teaches you something that but especially for authors that are coming up now. They decide to write books, and they have an unbelievable. They enter in a jungle. Let's put it in plain word. They enter in a jungle. Amazon is playing the big part, and everybody was so excited with Amazon. It took like actually the 48% of the market. 48% of the market of book is taken by Amazon, because it's going to give you, the book in immediately if it's an electronic download. Otherwise, in 24 hours you can have it at your home. And this, if at the beginning, or let's say looking from one side, it's fantastic. From the other side, and also Amazon tells you, you want to write a book, nothing is easier than this. You write a book, you put it on a KDP, and you're going to make a lot of money. It's not true. It's simply not true, because I think that we touched a little bit this subject the last time, but basically there are a lot of software out there that you buy for probably like $30 or something like that, and it's an artificial intelligence. You put inside only the topics that you wanna write about, and the artificial intelligence is picking up, all the relevant, topics around the net of things that, and put together a text or a book without you writing one single word. This is not writing. This is simply something that is confusing everybody. And a lot of people got into this, I call it spider net, of buying books that are like, buy my ebook, it's only $1 or 99 cents, and I teach you how to make billions out of the finance world, and after you look at the guy that wrote it, and is somebody, is a perfect unknown person, so anybody can be in this way expert of nothing. Being a writer is a job, and it has to be taken as a job. First of all, you must have a little bit of talent. A little bit of talent for writing if you write fiction. If you write a non-fiction, you must master your expertise, your field of expert, but really master, meaning you are doing this job since like 20 years, 30 years, and you know what you are talking about. Otherwise, they are only words put together one after another, so it's not the same. I believe that the audiobook will be, and I'll be more specific on this. I believe that audiobook with full cast will be the future for the next generation. The kids now they got a focus, thanks to TikTok. They got a focus of 40 seconds. If you take out, after the 40 seconds, they lose the focus, and this is horrible. This is horrible because it's not preparing for the future. A generation that is going to be lost at the end of the game. Carl Sagan used to say, we have so much technology and scientific things that can be applied to the regular life, but we are not able to use it in a proper way. And this is exactly what is happening now. We are bombarded with millions of gadgets and software and things that they are designed to ease our life, but in fact they are not, because the majority of people, they don't understand how this thing works, and this cut away along. I remember when I was a kid, I am 60 now, so I remember when I was a kid, reading was something that was taught to you by your parents. They used to put you, a book, and after you got hooked from the stories, behind this Melville, whatever, Salgari, the Sandokan, all these things that were for kids, but at the end of the game, you start to build worlds in your head that help you to grow up in a regular way. Now is not anymore like this. It's a 40-second video of an idiot that is dancing in front of a camera, and it's gonna have like 1 million views. and there's nothing there. There's no skill, there's no nothing, absolutely nothing. So I strongly believe that audiobooks, if done in a proper way, professionally done, with people that are professionals in like Kevin, I mean, people that know how to do this job. This is a profession. To be an actor on an audiobook is a profession. It's not something that you go to sleep tonight and tomorrow morning I want to be an actor in audiobooks. So I understand perfectly when Kevin says, try to do it, and after you realize that it's not exactly what you were thinking, but still, out of 40,000 audiobooks that are coming out every year, there are, let's say the truth, 39,000 and probably 800, they are, excuse my French, pure shit, because they are not done in a proper way, and this is not acceptable in my opinion. I think that with the time, the market is gonna, like always, the market is gonna elevate the ones that are really worth, and leaving behind, the one that are not important. So I believe that in the next 5 or 6 years, we're gonna see a big surge of audiobook, and especially audiobook done in a proper way.
I agree completely. Kevin, are you optimistic with the growth of the medium? Is that are you seeing that on your end? Are you seeing that also?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, even just since I've been in it, the audiobooks, just more and more people, I guess, and it's kind of what Malcolm was talking about earlier. I think because the quality has gotten better. I know I've run into people say, well, I don't like listening to audiobooks because they all talk, the narrators are too slow or they're too monotone, and for a while that was kind of what narrators, I guess, thought they were supposed to do. Just he told her that he loved her passionately, deeply, and that he would never leave her. And and instead of or to the other extreme, new people will go, like me, I would go over. He told her he loved her passionately, deeply, and would never leave. And there's a way you tell it, that comes with just training and doing it. But as people are hearing them, and then the quality's gotten better. I know I listened to a book from a series. I guess it started a few years ago. It's a very popular series. So I thought, well, this would be a great book. Well, I listened to the sample of it, and it was just so bad that there was just the guy talking and these deep breaths and noise and all that. But at the time, I think a lot of it, because it was on cassette, you had tape hiss anyway, so you didn't notice a lot of that. But now that you've got digital, you notice it. And so, I've got a $800 piece of software that takes out all the smacks and clicks and stuff in my voice, that, I might miss, and you can have things to put the breath down if that's what breathing is natural, but if you've got a sinus problem, or between every sentence you're doing this, that gets distracting. But as the production gets better, and then more people listen and go, yeah, I liked that, and it wasn't irritating or it wasn't distracting what the narrator did, then that causes them to go read more and tell their friends, and then they loan through Amazon or Audible, you can actually loan an audiobook out and get more people into it. So yeah, I think there's a really good future for audiobooks.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. I think one of the things that first drew me into it was listening to books that were, a point of view, like character point of view narrated. So it was like the character was telling you directly. First person fiction really drew me in, and I think that was just it was the first thing where it sort of hit me, where it was like this is a medium on its own. Like in a way that, you can't really compare a book to a film, because your film has to be done in an hour and a half, 2 hours, but the books, you have so much more room to play and to grow. So, of course the book's always going to be better than the film, but it's a different medium. So it's a different time. And I think audiobooks also deserve to be in that different realm of like a different medium, because of course they're coming off the source material, and of course it is the book, but it's that added it's that production value that sort of bridges the gap a little bit. That's my sort of personal way of thinking about it.
I think that's the one advantage of audiobooks over the movies, is sometimes as a narrator you can maybe make things clearer that weren't so clear in the book. Becky and I were having a little back and forth email thing going, and I was pointing out that one of the things that I hear from my authors, it really makes me feel good, is when they say, you read it better than I wrote it. Because they'll say something about a character and I'll think, oh, so this is how this guy would sound or say this or behave. And that maybe wasn't spelled out in the book, but I just kind of, of course, you pre-read the book before you record it, and it's just what I picked up. And so that's the beauty of the audiobook. If you can, help people, you'll get a better picture of the characters than maybe if they've just been reading straight through on their own.
I think it's a really fascinating conversation. And I'm just super excited as an audiobook fan, as well as obviously working within the industry. It's like I just as a fan, I'm so excited to see where it goes and the productions that come out of it. It's going to be really exciting. I just wanted to say, because we are just about to wrap up time, I just wanted to say for the recording sake, that when this recording will be put out, there'll be all the information of where to get Quantum, as well as the Facebook page and all the relevant links there are surrounding it. So if you are interested of finding out more information about that, the information will be surrounding this video somewhere. Fingers crossed. Yeah, it's all but yeah, I just wanted to thank you once again, each and every one of you, for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. And I'm
one thing, sorry, Johnny, I wanted only to come up with something. We are preparing, and this is news for everybody. We are preparing a channel that is called The Fictionist, and is especially done for fiction writer. So, and there will be we have to talk, me and you, about this thing, because it's gonna be something that my intention is, because I've seen a lot of potential good author that are taken away by the by the stream of Amazon and everything else. So I in this channel will be focused on how to get the right way in order to write and make audiobooks. So I will talk also. Becky knows about this. I will talk with her in the next week, because we are preparing a programming and everything else. It's going to be quite nice, to have you as a partner in this venture, and anybody else that work with me in Quantum, will be more than welcome to be a guest on this channel, and we'll see what is going on.
That sounds fantastic. Absolutely. That sounds really exciting.
Okay.
Yeah, so guys, thank you so much. Malcolm, Jess, Kevin, of course, Dean, Becky, thank you so much for joining us today. I do hope that we can all meet together once again, where the more information will be posted out during the through email and the like. But yes, thank you so much once again for joining us. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the communication. And as this grows and grows, who knows? We might finally start that band, Kevin.
Good.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Johnny.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Later, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.